Hi everybody, I'm Anna Jancy, and today in ArtWithMore I'm going to talk about the basics you need to know, or my suggestions when you start working with resin. So it's going to be a long video because I'm going to go into some details of what you need and what to do, where to do it and how to do it. So if you're interested, just stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying. Let's just start with the video because I do believe it's going to be a little bit long. I just want to mention that I'm not an expert in working with resin. I do not have years and years of experience. I think I have a year and something working with resin. I try a lot of stuff, and I just want to make this video of my own perspective or my own failure and success on different types of resin and materials you can use with resin. So I just want to disclaim that just in case some pro is watching this video and maybe I'm saying something that is not correct. But what I have worked with, it had worked in my pieces, and of course if there are some suggestions, if you're like a pro in resin and there's some stuff that because I'm always learning, and there's some techniques or things that I'm doing that you have a suggestion, is welcome as well. So saying that, we're gonna start. So I have divided in 6 parts or 6 titles or subtitles, and so I can kind of organize my thoughts. If you want specific video for of each of them, or one specific, you can let me know in the comments or email me, and I will make a video in more detail of it. Okay, so it's going to be 6 subtitles. So one is going to be type of resin. The other one is going to be identifying the type of resin you need. Temperature and humidity, very important. The doming process. Type of material that you can use working with resin that had worked for me. And the suggestions of tools that you need or you could need, so it makes it easier for you to work with. Okay, so 6. All right, so 1, type. There are a lot of type of resins. Epoxies, there are like a lot of types for different stuff, and you have the UV resin, which works with UV light, and so it's overwhelming. For me, it was very overwhelming when I started because I didn't know what to do, how to start, what kind of resin I should use. I didn't even know what I was going to do or to make. Okay, that is very important because depending of what you make is the type of resin that you're going to use. So this video and all the videos that you have seen with resin, I use epoxy resin and UV resin. Okay, epoxy resin, I use the one that is ratio 1:1, which means one ratio, whatever is a 10 milliliters, or one ratio of the hardener is the same ratio of the resin. That is something very important, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so my resin, not my resin, but the resin that I use is like that. So in the type, so then it's like the second part is, because we have to talk about identifying. So identifying the type of resin that you should work with is another thing. You have to decide what kind of pieces you are going to work with. For example, if there are small pieces like keychains, I don't know, bottle openers, little plates for jewelry, things like that. Even, oh, coasters. I don't have a coaster here. Yeah, but yeah. You know, bottle, these are wine glass holders. If you're gonna make or those type of pieces, which is not too large, and we're gonna talk about that, you can use epoxy resin. Any epoxy resin that you want. I suggest, what I did is that I tried 5 different resins that I thought someone was for coating, someone was for dumbing. I mean, it's a lot. And what I did at the beginning is that I bought a kit and I used that kit, and then I used other 4 resins, different brands, to see how it is. Believe it or not, I like the first kit that I bought. So I searched on internet and I saw that there is some, they sell the same brand in half a gallon and a gallon. So I started buying it from them, and it has been working very good. It's clear, not too much bubbles, but we're going to talk about bubbles because sometimes people think that it's because of the resin, but temperature, humidity, and how you mix it is a key factor of that. So if you're doing small pieces, as this video, it's possible because Michael or Michelle, I don't know if it's you know, it's Michael. It could be Michael or Michelle or Michelle. So this video is for you. You mentioned that you're going to start making keychains and you want to know how to start. So that's a very good example because those are small pieces. So when you identify, like let's talk about the big pieces. Like for example, if you're going to start making resin into wood, is another type of resin. If you're going to make tables, is another huge thing that I don't even know about it, but I know that they use specific resin, and the quantity is amazing, how they mix and all those stuff. So for small and medium pieces, what I have used is epoxy resin. The ratio can vary depending of the brand of the resin. There's some that is 2x1, 3x2, 4x1. It depends of the mixture of the resin. For me, the resin that I chose is 1x1, so it's easy, and I just mix it and that's it. Okay, I'm gonna add the resin that I use, but I do believe I have one here. So this is the resin that I use. This is see, it's 1x1, A and B. The A normally is the resin, it says here resin, and the B is the hardener. You see, B resin fast curing. And this is a gallon kit, which is it's really good. Let me cover it. I always cover my resin, and I try to put it in a dry place. So that's the resin that I use, but anyway, I'm gonna link it in the description box below. And I started with little bottles, which was a kit. Very important about the resin. Okay, so the resin, type of resin that exists, and identifying the resin, you already know, identifying the pieces, right? So you know what kind of resin you need. So let's say that you're gonna do keychains and you decided to go to epoxy resin, and okay, and your resin is 1x1. The other thing important to know is the time of working process. That is the time frame that you have for the resin not to start the curing process. This is very important because the timing when you mix, I mean, that timing is if it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, that timing starts when you mix both resin and hardener. Sometimes people think that it's after you mix it is that it starts the process, the chemical process. No, it starts exactly in the moment that you mix both resin and hardener. Okay, so if you have 40 minutes and you stir the resin and the hardener for 5 minutes, you just have 40 minutes to work with. Okay, that is important. Why? Because if you don't want the resin to go, I know it's a term, but I don't remember it right now. Like it start to go gel, like it start to go like a gelatin, something like that, because the process is starting. If you don't want that to happen, you have to work very fast, or in the ratio of, or in the rage in the range of time that you have. Okay, that is very important too. All right, so let's talk about temperature and humidity. It's this is I think is I think there are two things that are very important, or maybe three things that I have realized working with resin that is very important. The first one is to really work with a resin that you like and it works for you. The second one is temperature and humidity. And the third one is how you mix it. I think those three things has been the most that I really pay attention to. Okay, so temperature. Temperature, it should be, well, the suggested temperature, it should be between 50 to 60%, sorry, from 70 to 80 Fahrenheit. And that temperature should be stable during the pure pour of the resin and the curing of the resin. Okay, so you know that you have to cure the resin overnight, and you're pouring the resin, and you have all that time since this beginning that you're pouring the resin until the end that is cured overnight, or if you're adding layers or whatever, the temperature of the room, of the area that you're going to work, it has to be between 70 and 80 Fahrenheit. You can make the change for Celsius. That's the temperature. Humidity. Humidity should be between 50 to 60%. Believe me when I said to you that that is important, because I have spent so many hours doing beautiful pieces, hand pieces, drawing everything and all that stuff, and something happened to the humidity, or I didn't pay attention to the humidity or the temperature, and pieces didn't cure, like this one. Look at this beauty. This is handmade, hand painted, sorry, and all that. Look. It didn't cure. So, and believe me, this is going to happen to you, and it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you spend so much time. I mean, look at the details of all that, but it didn't cure, and you cannot sell this if you're selling it, or you cannot give it to anybody, because this is supposed to be, here's a wine and there's the glasses here, so it's a glass wine holder. So I said, okay, so temperature, humidity is it's important. How you measure that? You have a tool. This is your best friend. This Therm, it's called Therm Pro. Let me show you here. And this tells you humidity, the percentage. Like right now, I'm in Georgia, Kennesaw, and it's raining. But yeah, it's kind of raining. So my humidity is 41%, and even says dry, comfort, and wet. Right now it's supposed to be comfort not for the resin, comfort for us. And the temperature in Fahrenheit, I have it in Fahrenheit, is 70. All right, and it tells you the low and the low and the high. Like for example, you have low between 66 and 71. So if you're working in a resin, and if you have 70 and 80, it's perfect. Okay, this is and you have it in Celsius. I don't know if I said that. You have it in Celsius too. If you don't work with Fahrenheit and you know Celsius, well, you can change it to Celsius. So this is my best friend. Okay, this is part of the tools that you need or to work with resin. All right, so I wanted to talk about doming because doming is something that a lot of people say that it has to be done in pieces that you make, and I do believe it's not necessarily it's not necessary if and it's depending of the piece that you're working with. Another thing that I have discovered is that you don't need a specific resin for doming. You're gonna see in a lot of stores and online that it's gonna say resin for coat or coaster or something, and resin for doming. Wait, my cat is there. All right, sorry about that. It's just that my neighbor's, I mean, I say my cat, but it's my neighbor's cat, and comes here, and she's just so sweet. So sweet and cute, and she was just in the door and she wanted to come in. All right, so I was talking about doming, D-O-M-I-N-G. That is what it gives the shiny part or the finished gloss of your pieces, of resin pieces. I was saying that I don't necessarily like apply doming, or I don't do the doming all the time, because it depends of the pieces that you make. For example, if I'm making, it's just an example, I'm making this keychain. This is an example. This is a keychain, and I wanted to put a sticker on top of it. But if you can see, the sticker is not completely, for example, this is the same sticker, but this is completely inside the resin. Oh, I guess you can see that. See, this one is not, so you can still feel the sticker. I like texture. I like to touch things, and like if I like it, there are other people that maybe they like it. So when I make pieces, I make pieces that you can touch the decoration that you put in, or you just have this part that is, you know, inside the resin. This one has doming, which we're gonna talk about that. It's just the resin that you put in top to give it that extra shine. All right. So the other way, the other way that I don't use the doming is when I use this type of stickers with gems. I'm gonna open it, this one. Sorry about the noise. I'm gonna open it to show you. So this type of stickers, this, you see that it has a gem. See the gem? The resin is gonna melt it. So if you're excited because you're gonna have a gem in your piece and it's gonna look fancy and fashion and beautiful, that is going to disappear. And I'm saying that because it had happened to me, or it has happened to me. This keychain, I put the little circles, it was gems, beautiful. I said, oh gosh, it's gonna look so beautiful, this and that. And look what happened. What is left is the back part of the gem. Like for example, I'm gonna show you a star that is the same. It's a tiny star, but it's the same concept. So this is the gem, right? And this is the part, the back part. So that is what is left if you put resin on top of it. I'm not talking, maybe with real gems it doesn't happen, but if you know me, and if you don't know me, I'm gonna tell you, I buy a lot of stuff in Dollar Tree, and because resin itself, it's a very expensive hobby. So I try my best to buy things not so expensive, so so I can work and I can play with it. All right, so in that part, when I use this type, or when I want the piece to be like you feel the piece, you don't use the doming. Another thing important of doming, and I know it's going to be another step over all the steps that you have to do the resin, but for doming, I do believe it's very important to sand the piece. Sanding the piece is going to let the resin to get on top of the, like the last layer, and it's going to look really, really beautiful. And if you had any let's say imperfection like this, you see that? You see that? That's alcohol. I put too much alcohol for the bubbles, and look at that. So you have that. If you have a little hair, then that can happen. If you have a scratch, I don't have any piece here that has scratch right now, but I had a scratch or a bubble. Look at this bubble. This is a huge, see if, I don't know if you can see it. This is a huge bubble. And actually I left it because it's so cool, because that's a frog and the frog is under the water or whatever. So I left it. I thought it was it would be nice part of the design, but sometimes big bubbles are a problem. So when you sand the whole piece and you put the last coating, which is called doming of the resin, it's going to, what the resin does is that goes through any crack in any surface that you have, and it's going to be beautiful and perfectly shiny. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to and to know. And the doming, you do not need a special resin for doming. You just leave, what I do is that I leave my resin, the resin that I show you, for maybe 10 minutes sitting there. So I start 10 or 20 minutes and start like this. It's not that liquid, it's more dense, because that's another thing. And for different resins, you're gonna find some that are more liquid or dense. I like more liquid because some of them are super dense and wow, they're so difficult to work with. Actually, the third one that I used, it was so dense and I had just 20 minutes to work. It was a stress for me. It was just like, I was very stressed working with that resin. But there are people that like it. So, and I'm going to link all the resins that I work with. So you can try it if you want, and maybe you like it. So this is something that is depending of how you feel with the tools and the materials that you're working with. Okay. All right. So that's what doming. So the type of material you can use with resin. I have used pebbles, stickers, any kind of stickers. Remember, the only sticker that I don't use complete resin is this one. And this one, that for example has pearls, because they're not, of course, they're not real pearls. And they can, I don't know if you can see it here. You see that little pearls there? I don't put that into the resin, but everything else I put in the resin. Glitter, paint, acrylic paint. I use eyeshadow as mica powder. Mica powders are so expensive, and I said no way. So I use eyeshadows. You can use confettis, any type of confettis. This, for example, let's see. This are confettis. They're from, I think, was the Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby or some. These are tube confettis. You can put it into the resin, and it's perfect. The sand, shells, like seashells. This is pebbles. See, pebbles. Look at the shells. Sand. Wood. I have been using, for Valentine's, I made some charms, and I have been using this wood. These are from Dollar Tree. This is a wooden stick. I think it's called wooden stick, heart shape or something like that. I have a video where I made those. Yeah, so glitter paper. I use normal printing paper in my printer. I print the paper and I put it into resin. I have another video of that too as well. What other thing? Napkins. You can do the technique that is called decoupage, which I have another video too of decoupage technique into resin, and it's amazing. I don't know if I have here right now. the results. Like for example, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you because I think it's worth it. With this napkins, I don't, let me go and look for it. All right, so from this paper, from this napkin, I'm sorry, this is from, I have a video of this too. This is from Hobby Lobby. Look, isn't this beautiful? Stunning, the decoupage technique, this with the coasters. So this is what I'm talking about. For example, if you have this with the doming, or let me see if you can see it. You cannot see it. But in person you can see it, that alcohol, I'm not using alcohol anymore because of this problem. I had to sand. And when you sand, it looks like this, see this? And then you put the resin. The doming resin. Well, it's doming. Another, this is with paper that I was talking to you about. This is paper. I put some glue. That's why it's white, but normally you can do it and it's gonna look clear. I have a video on paper too. So whatever whatever design you have, or something that you scan and you want to put in resin, or even if you have a customer that says I want this to put in resin, don't use the original one. Try to make a copy of it and then put in resin just in case. Okay, so it's a suggestion because you never know how it's gonna go. So and this is regular paper in my printer, and that's it. The only thing is that my printer is an Inkjet printer. I don't know if it works with the other ones, but or with the other one, the laser, but mine is Inkjet. Okay, and this is Decoupage too. Look at this, beautiful. This is a Dollar Tree napkin. So this is fall leather, and you can use leather. This is from Dollar Tree as well. See how beautiful. I leave it like that because I thought it was, I think I have a video of this. I was just trying to make stuff and see how it looks. See that? That's alcohol. Did not use alcohol. Like the alcohol, you know, rubbing alcohol. I was using alcohol for the bubbles, and then I realized that sometimes I use too much and I have not the measurement, and this happens. So this, I have to sand the whole piece again and put some resin on top. So that's something too. So anything that you want, and if you're not sure, just try it. Try in a little piece and try and see how it looks. Okay. All right, and the last one is the suggestion tools. Resin, it's beautiful to work with, and it's you know, very good and all that, but there are tools that you need. Well, maybe I should not say need, but you should have, because it will help you a lot. Like for example, what I told you about this is a must. The timer is a must. Every single time that I use my resin, that I mix my resin and my hardener, I do mix it for 5 minutes. Yes, with resin, you have to be patient. You really have to be patient, and do not make you, how I call that, like, don't expect anything about it. Because if something beautiful that you made and you spend so many hours drawing or painting and it then doesn't work, you're gonna feel frustrated, but it's okay. From one that it didn't work, like 10 or 20, they're gonna work if you follow the rules. So mixing time, this is a timer. You can find it at Dollar Tree. Actually, this one is from Dollar Tree, and I just put my timer in 5 minutes, and 3, 4, 5, see, 5 minutes, you press start, and it start. The other thing that you have to do when you're mixing your resin, go slow. Slow. Go slow. In a lot of my videos, you see that I go fast. It's because it's time-lapsing or I'm moving forward with it. I go very slow to avoid what? Bubbles. We're going to talk about bubbles. I didn't put it here, but we're going to talk about bubbles. Okay, another thing that is suggested, but I mean, it's just if you want it. I do use silicone cups because, I don't know, I guess I don't want to throw away so many cups or plastic or whatever. So I use silicone cups. You can buy the silicone cups on Amazon, or you can find any silicone, but you have to make sure it's silicone, not PVC. Silicone cups, for example. These ones are from Dollar Tree, and they're silicone. Okay. Why silicone? Because you can reuse them. Now, if you don't care to, or if you don't want to reuse none of the cups that you're going to use to mix your resin, you can use whatever you want. Just make sure, like for example, I have seen people that use this type of cup. These cups are available in Dollar Tree or any. You have small, you have big. The only thing that worries me with this is that the measurement, when you have resin 1x1 or 4x2 or 3x1 or whatever, it has to be exact. So I don't know how they measure exactly where, how to combine the things. But if you figure it out, you can use that. Another thing that you can use is this little fellows to mix. But you can also use silicone. I don't have here right now. But you can use the silicone. They're all, yeah, I have to clean them. Silicone, this is for mixing. Okay. Very important. Very, very important. A level. It's so important to level your pieces. And it's not just like, try to, when you're doing your resin, try to pour the resin in the same area that you're going to leave it to cure. If you're going to move it, make sure that it's level. If it's not level, believe me, the resin is going to go wherever it wants to go when there's a little, way to go. If the silicone mold is ripped, that happened to me too. I didn't realize, and it was a tiny little rip, and the silicone the resin just went through the rip. So I level my pieces, and I do not level the tables because I have in my studio is a concrete floor and it's just not level at all. I try to do everything I can to level the tables, but I mean, it didn't happen. So what I use is that I use a wood board, and I put the mold on top and I start working on it, the silicone mold that you're gonna use. Level it, and I use a lot this. This is a little level thingy, and I put it under, and it's perfect because you move it and you start leveling, the piece that you're working with. Very important to have your pieces level from the pouring the resin until you cure it, because that is super important. So what else? I think that's it. I thought it was going to be longer. Maybe I missed some of the stuff. Oh, one thing. Cover your pieces. Even if you don't have a cat, even if you don't have pets, even if you think that your studio or where you're working is super duper clean, cover it. Believe me, there's going to be a little something something that is going to land in your resin. So have this very clean covers. I use plastic covers, and they're like beans, and bins that I just cover my pieces, and that's it. Because then you have to sand to take out that hair or that little thing that went into your resin. So yes, so I think that's it. If you want something specific of this, a video specific of this 6 subtitles or titles that I talk about, the type of resin, identify the type of resin that you need, the temperature of humidity, well, I'm gonna write it down in the description below. The doming process, the type of material you can use, or the tools, the suggestion tools. Well, in tools, I forgot to mention, is if you're using UV resin, of course you need a light. You have the regular light, which is, I mean, the small light that I bought it in a kit. You have this little light that it comes with a kit, and it's not that expensive. It's very cute. It works. Or you have the big one that I'm gonna try to, this one. And you have others that you can work with. Sorry about that, I wanted to show you that. So so yeah, I think that's like the basic of what you need to do. Let me know then, type, identifying, temperature, doming, types of material, tools. So yeah, so that's it. See you in the next video. In the next video, we're gonna go hands in. I'm gonna do a step-by-step on how I make, for example, this keychains or some little keychain or some little stuff, or anything that you want me to do. I was going to make some, I'm going to work with UV resin because, as you can see, temperature is not very good right now. And I don't have any special order of resin, like epoxy resin. So I was going to make some how you call it? Let me see if they're just here. Ladybugs. Where are my ladybugs? They're so cute that I wanted to put them in resin. Oh, here they are. Look at this. Look at this cutie. I want to make some charms with them. And again, because this is, I think this is called like 3D or pop-up. I wanted to feel it like this one. And I'm making, because as you know, I do make handmade journals as well. And I'm starting with a spring one, and I want to put some ladybugs. They're so cute. So I'm going to do it with resin. So maybe that's the one that I'm gonna make next time. I'm gonna make it this week, so I think I'm gonna post 2 videos this week, and yeah. So anyway, let me know. Thank you for staying. Thank you for watching the whole video. Hopefully, I said something that could help you. Again, I'm not a pro. I don't have years of experience on this. It's just the little things that I have been doing that it worked for me, and how I do it, and I have sold quite a few pieces, so people like it, and I love it. So that's the important thing. So see you soon. See you in the next video. Let's do some ladybugs charms with UV resin, and remember, be happy. Bye.